Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarane. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Iti Namani. Devam Divyatanam Suchandavadanam Balarkachelan Shitam Sandranandapuram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Shri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Bande Tam Shubhadam Adeka Sharanam Nyashishvaram Sridharam. Namo Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayanti Namane. Namo Vishnupadaya Acharya Sinharupane Shishimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshavitinam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namane. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namane gaurachise namah. Gurave gaurachandraya Radhikaya Itadare Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namo. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Loudly. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Ashtatara Shata Shri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Ashtatara Shata Shri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj on his divine appearance day. And Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Ashtatara Shata Shri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. I offer my Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of all my Shri Shri Rupa Yoga Guru Varga. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas, to all the Vaishnavis, headed by Tridandi Sannyasi Gan in this glorious assembly in the month of Kartik on the bank of Jamuna River. Hare Krishna. Well, many devotees mentioned various historical facts, touching a little bit here and there about the history of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And there's many different angles to that history. But in order to just try to concisely express what I want to express today on his appearance day, I'm just going to try to be very minimal in covering histories. Because there's so much history. And the first thing I want to say is that when we were growing up from our babyhood in ISKCON, I came in 1970 at the age of 18 years old. And from that time, we were hearing this name occasionally, from time to time, this person named Sridhar Maharaj. In fact, the very first day that I entered the temple in Detroit, Michigan in 1970, there was a stack of magazines, and I picked up one magazine and I opened it up. And it was an article by who? Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. It was called Descent of the Holy Name. It was actually not a direct recording, but it was transcribed by shorthand by Chitananda Prabhu, who was the person that eventually posted this article. And our Srila Prabhupada, in his Back to Godhead magazine, was very happy to have this article. So, in those early years, none of us knew anything about him, who he is. We knew that he's a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, and he is a learned personality like this, but we did not know anything about him. What's his history? How did he serve Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? What was his relationship with Srila Saraswati Thakur? What was his relationship with all the very elevated advanced disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati? This we didn't know. There was no information available. There was no biographical information that you can type in like now, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, and then get whole tons of information. Nothing was available. Nothing. But I didn't need much. In 1975, 5 years later, we had a big marathon for producing Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita in Los Angeles. I was fortunately part of that endeavor to please Srila Prabhupada by doing that in 2 months' time, which would have ordinarily taken 1.5 years minimum, but it was done because Prabhupada said, you must do it, otherwise you're disqualified as disciples. At the end of that 2-month period, Srila Prabhupada was consulted. By who? By the BBT secretary at the time, Godbrother Rameswar Prabhu, because he was writing a newsletter every month, monthly BBT newsletter. And there he was telling the news. We didn't have internet, nothing. So Prabhupada was traveling, preaching here and there. So he would give some information from Srila Prabhupada. On this occasion, because he was also there in Los Angeles when this marathon was going on, he wrote to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada wrote an appreciation letter to all who had helped him. And then he asked Srila Prabhupada 2 questions. He said, Prabhupada, now that your translation work is going very rapidly, going very quickly, and we're also producing your books very quickly, maybe you'll finish Srimad Bhagavatam. And then if you finish the Srimad Bhagavatam, then what will you translate after that? Will you do another big epic like Mahabharata, Vedanta Sutra, something like that, well known? And Srila Prabhupada said, no, those books are not as important to us in terms of bhakti as the books of the Goswamis, as the books of our acharyas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, like this. We barely even knew their names at that time, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He said they should all be translated. Then he asked him the second question, and this was the big one. Srila Prabhupada, if for some reason you cannot finish Srimad Bhagavatam before you leave the planet, is there anyone else that can do it? And I read this with my own eyes, standing at the glass case where it was posted, and I'll never forget that sentence. Srila Prabhupada said there are only two persons on the planet who can write the purports for Srimad Bhagavatam in the English language. Myself and my godbrother, B.R. Sridhar Maharaj. And when I saw that, I understood. He's the one. Aside from Prabhupada, he's the one. And at this point, as I said, still didn't know anything about him. But I knew this was the recommendation of Prabhupada. Now, for the next couple of years, from 75 till 77, finally I ended up in Vrindavan with Srila Prabhupada in his final weeks. And in his final weeks, the leaders of his society, of course, everyone was becoming quite concerned, worried. If Prabhupada leaves, what then? What will we do? And none of us could quite believe, because he had been sick at various times, not quite as sick as he was then, and then he recovered from it, and again he started traveling and preaching. But still, it became apparent within the last 2 weeks. So at that time, the leaders of his society approached Srila Prabhupada, whoever was there. There wasn't that many leaders there, but there was a few. And they approached Srila Prabhupada in his room. How did I know that? Because I was going in his room every single day and chanting with tiny little kartals with a group of 3-4 devotees, because Prabhupada wanted Maha Mantra from the time he woke up till the time that he took rest at night. So we were doing that. And from time to time, we would witness certain things that Srila Prabhupada would say. But even if we weren't there, then at the end of the day, the devotees who were in the room, and leading devotees, personal servants of Prabhupada, they would come out and tell us, today Prabhupada said this, today Prabhupada said that. So when the leaders of his society came and asked him, Srila Prabhupada, if for some reason you now leave this world, can you please tell us, is there anyone we can go to for guidance? And then he told them, you go to my godbrother, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. How do we know that Prabhupada told them that? Because within a couple of weeks, Srila Prabhupada departed, went into Samadhi, and what did the leaders of ISKCON do within the next 3 months before they had the first Gaur Purnima GBC meetings without Prabhupada's physical presence? They went personally to interview Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj at his mat, Chaitanya Saraswat mat, led by Satsvarup Maharaj. There's recordings of it, and Satsvarup Maharaj introduced them as a small delegation of GBC members. And they said, we have come to you by the order of our Gurudev, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He recommended that we come to you for guidance, so we are requesting from you your esteemed guidance for us. Then what Srila Sridhar Maharaj began to speak became part of the book called Sri Guru and His Grace. And what is that book? That book is the ultimate book on Guru Tattva. I'm not just saying that. You can test it yourself. Is there one single book that if you read that book from cover to cover, you'll fully, perfectly understand Guru Tattva? Srila Sridhar Maharaj spoke that book in English, not just to the GBC, over a period of the first couple of years. Many devotees were coming to him from 78, 79, 80, 81, like this. GBC members started coming to him in 1980, and they recorded many classes that they received, many darshans and personal instructions from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So these recordings were available. Now they started floating all around ISKCON into LA community and many other communities, and devotees were hearing the katha of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Now up to that point, I still hadn't directly heard his voice. But what did I read? I was sent to Africa after Prabhupada left. Kenya, Nairobi, East Africa. And there, the BBT newsletter came. What was that BBT newsletter? A very important document. It was the transcription of the conversation that GBC had with Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And I'm sitting there in Mombasa, Kenya, reading this, as all the devotees around the world and all the temples around the world are reading that conversation. And remember, I already knew what Prabhupada said about him. So now I'm actually reading his words. I'm reading his Vani. I'm reading how he's answering the questions of the GBC and so forth. And when I read that, it became very clear he's the one. There's no doubt about it. And his English was so attractive. It was so heart-touching. The way that he would speak, the way that he would mention even trivial, or not trivial, but minor points in our Siddhanta, what to speak of major Siddhantic questions and answers. You know, Srila Bhakti Goswami Maharaj, if we had time, I would read his offering right now, what he said about his godbrother Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And I just read that last night. He told there, whatever Sridhar Maharaj speaks is like a thesis. It's like a thesis. If anybody listens to the different theses that he spoke spontaneously, not written, spoken spontaneously, they will understand perfectly Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. And Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj considered himself to be a Siksha disciple of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, even though he was junior to him by the years that he came to Srila Bhakti Sangha, but he considered him to be a Siksha Guru of himself. Who else considered him to be a Siksha Guru? Huh? My Srila Prabhupada, you want to hear what he said about him? I brought this, very short. You'll hear his own words. This is what he said about him. We are very fortunate to hear his divine grace. Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa, Paribrajak Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. So when was this spoken? This is around 1972-73 in Mayapur, where Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj came to visit, and the Prabhupada was introducing him to his Western disciples for the first time. And you see the photo where he's sitting on a red velvet Vyasasana right next to Srila Prabhupada. The photo's right here in black and white. Did Prabhupada ever sit on the Vyasasana with anyone else? No. Only in this case. So what did he say? We are very fortunate to hear his divine grace. By age and by experience, in both ways, he is senior to me. This is Prabhupada, who went all over the world and gave the Krishna consciousness movement to the entire world. And he's saying that about Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, who'd never left India. He says, I was fortunate. I was fortunate to have his association since a long time. Since perhaps 1930. Now, this is just excerpts from that conversation, because it turned into a conversation. We have the recording, we have the transcription between Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj sitting right next to him and Prabhupada. And it is so sweet, and they're remembering each other, and this time and that time, it was just heart-melting. So Prabhupada is saying that maybe since perhaps 1930, yes, Maharaj, like this. And at that time, he had not yet accepted sannyas, but he had just left home. He went to preach in Allahabad, and on that auspicious occasion we were connected. Sridhar Maharaj lived in my house. In my house. For many years. So naturally, we had very intimate talks. What are you going to do? Two Mahabhagavad Vaishnavas. One is a householder still, one is a renounced order. But he's living in his house, periodically coming from Navadvip, staying for some days, going back and forth, for 10 years. Yes, 10 years. And what did he say? He says, we had naturally very intimate talks. He has such high realizations of Krishna that one would faint to hear them. Prabhupada's own words. Any follower of Srila Prabhupada who says, I'm a follower of A.C. Bhakti, and they don't heed this statement, and they do the opposite of that, they are not a real follower of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He said, he was always my good advisor. He was always my good advisor, and I took his advice very seriously. Because from the very beginning, I knew that he was a pure devotee of Krishna. So I wanted to associate with him. Krishna and Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they liked him to prepare me. To prepare for what? For his mission that was given to him by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. To prepare him. He's telling that here. Krishna and Prabhupada liked him to prepare me. Our relationship is very intimate. Then Prabhupada says a little history. He says, after the breakdown of our spiritual master's institution, after the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, all chaos came and it broke down. So he says, after that breakdown of our spiritual master's institution, I wanted to organize another institution. When he was still in his householder life. And I wanted to make Sridhar Maharaj the head. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told me that Sridhar Maharaj is one of the finest preachers of Krishna consciousness in the world. So I wanted to take him everywhere. This was my earnest desire. But since he could not go around the world and preach, at least the people of the world should come to hear from him. So now the ending, it's much longer than this, but they just took brief excerpts. He ends it by saying, for spiritual advancement of life, we must go to someone who is actually practicing spiritual life. You want to make spiritual advancement? You have to go to someone who's actually practicing spiritual life. So, and these are actually his excerpt from a letter to his disciple. So, if one is actually serious to take instructions from a Siksha Guru or an instructing spiritual master, I can refer him to one who is the most competent of all of my God brothers. This is B.R. Sridhar Maharaj. I consider Sridhar Maharaj to be even my Siksha Guru. So, what to speak of the benefit that others can have from his association? Is that clear? I mean, how much more clear can it be made? How much more clear can my Srila Prabhupada tell that you go to him? You go to him. But what did his so-called leaders of his institution do? You already heard, in very brief. And I'm not going to go into that. Because first of all, there's no more time practically. But I just want to say, hey!
Don't cross the river.
Shoot!
Don't cross the river.
I forgot what I was saying. Yes. So, although this is what Prabhupada said, and he said many other things also, but yet, the so-called leaders, disciples, followers, they decided that they were more intelligent than their Guru Maharaj. How did they think that they were more intelligent? Because they had a meeting. They had their little GBC meeting. And in that meeting, they came to a conclusion that, and there's so much leading up to this, but I'm just saying the fact. They decided Sridhar Maharaj is an enemy. Sridhar Maharaj is an enemy of this guy. He's envious of Prabhupada, etc., etc. And what did they do? They banned him by their GBC rules and regulations. The person who Prabhupada told, we haven't heard that much. Prabhupada wanted him to live in his house in Mayapur. Okay? Prabhupada wanted him to be the head of his entire ISKCON institution. He said that. Yeah. But what did they do? The opposite. And to this day, they have not admitted this great Maha Vaishnava Parad. And how is it made even more grave and serious? Because they told everyone, like little Kishore Mohan and Sue Devi and others all around the world, they wrote it to all the temples, don't go to him, don't read his books, don't associate with anyone who goes to him, and anyone who goes to him will be kicked out of this ISKCON institution. That happened to me in 1984. Why? Because in 1982, when they banned him, I could not understand, I could not accept. Why? Because I went to see him personally in 1979. And that exchange that I had with him at that time was so profound, heart-melting, it completely convinced me he's the one. So then, by 1983, 1984 came around, and at that point, I had the opportunity to receive 40 cassette tapes at that time, 90-minute audio recordings, 40 of them. And they were all from the 1980, 81, 82, when the GBC members were hearing from Srila Maharaj. I began to listen to those tapes, and I was completely stunned. Moment by moment by moment, I became so captivated, so charmed, my heart became so melted. I was listening for hours and hours in 1984. And I was just being swept away, day after day, week after week, week after week. I was immersed in Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj's Katha. Any of you can also do that right now. You can hear as friends of Lord Krishna, like new people. And so I sat there and I was a little bit in shock. I already expected this, but for it to happen in this way, without any real discussion, nothing, huh? And so then he said, and we want you to leave the country also. Then he said the final words. These are his final words to me. He said, I just don't understand what you people, you Sridhar people, I just don't understand what you see in him. I mean, after all, what has he done in comparison with what I've done. That Mr. Such and Such was gone from Krishna consciousness within 1 year. I left the institution, not actually, I never left. I never left Prabhupada institution, nothing. But I stayed my distance. My name was like dirt everywhere, all throughout England, where they were all saying, yeah, you know, Urgram, he went to Sridhar, blah, 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 blah. Okay? But this is my 40th anniversary this year of being out of the institution. And by being pushed out of the institution in that way, I took complete shelter of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar. I worked so hard in the winter, made money, going door to door, selling paintings. Then I got the money to fly my family to Navadvip Dham in 1985, and then I was with Srila Sridhar Maharaj for 6 weeks at the Gorpurnim festival time. And then I saw him one final time in 1988. Just before he departed from this world. It's the same time when Pran Kishore Prabhu arranged for me and my ticket to India so I could bring a donation for Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. And I brought that and presented it to his lotus feet, stayed 3 days with him, had some beautiful exchanges, and then I understood. He's my other Siksha Guru. I mean, that came gradually, over time. But I already understood, he's the authority now. So in this way, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, his books have gone everywhere. Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj even told that all of his books that have been, they've been written and spoken in the English language, they should all be translated into Bengali language. That's how important they are. All of that. So, my whole life has been so auspicious, so auspicious. 3 Mahabhagavad Vaishnava Gurus, they're sitting right here, 1, 2, 3. And I see them on equal level, I have equal love for them, but especially Gurudev told me, he said, you should always see Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj as your main Guru. And he is. He's sitting in the middle, and to his left is Srila Narayan Maharaj, and to his right, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar. So my life has been blessed in this way, just as tens of thousands of devotees throughout the world, in all different countries, even China, Russia, different languages, they've read the books of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and guess what? Over the years, as I was traveling, so many would tell me, oh my God, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I love him so much. Well, his instructions were so helpful for me. Again and again and again. And will that stop? No, it'll only increase. It's going to increase and increase and increase. And eventually, it will go penetrating into the big walls of ISKCON, which it already has done behind the scenes. And it will go penetrating into all the devotees' hearts. So, no one can stop the preaching of the pure devotee Mahabhagavad Vaishnava. No one can stop. And this is what Srila Gurudev has told us. This message can never be stopped. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told the line of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur can never be stopped. So on this day of his appearance, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams at his divine lotus feet. I'm envisioning him in my heart the first time I met him, and all the successive times, and how sweet, how loving and affectionate he was, and how he deepened my understanding of this whole Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, the understanding of my Srila Prabhupada's books, and he paved the way actually for my third Siksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, who is like the Prayojan Tattva Acharya of the modern day, introducing Braj Bhakti to the entire world. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaja ki jai. Tadiya Avirbhav Mahamahotsav Titi Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj ki jai. The guardian of devotion, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaja ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Now we're having the Guru Puja and the Arti will be very soon also.
Kripa Vaishnava